Stably telling its customers that custodian Prime Trust is suspending withdrawals last week after a canceled acquisition by rival custodian BitGo. Joining us to discuss is BitGo CEO Mike Belshe. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for taking the time to be here with us. Let's talk about this Prime Trust acquisition. BitGo terminated its acquisition of Prime Trust only 2 weeks after announcing the intent to acquire. Tell us what went into making that decision.
Well, I think people are familiar with what's going on at Prime Trust. Unfortunately, they had their regulator shut them down temporarily, and so obviously we couldn't proceed with the deal.
A source told CoinDesk that Prime Trust has been losing clients and deposits to competitors for weeks amid mounting concerns over its business. Can you tell us a little bit more about the due diligence process?
Well, BitGo's been growing and gaining some of Prime Trust clients. Prior to talking with them at all about a potential acquisition, so a number of their clients actually came to BitGo, and in fact, some of that is how we stepped into that potential transaction. Anyway, I think most clients at this point are finding good solutions, and I know that some were affected, like you just mentioned one a few moments ago. The best place to answer those questions is probably Prime Trust.
So exactly how much were you going to acquire them for had they not been dealing with the Nevada regulators?
We haven't disclosed that.
I mean, is there a ballpark figure? And in general, what were you acquiring exactly? What was the goal? Was it to acquire, I guess, their customers? Any technologies involved?
Well, BitGo, I think, was probably one of the few companies that could easily absorb Prime Trust. Their business had struggled in a few different ways, but because they had a decent client base, we felt we could take that client base, combine it with BitGo's offering, and turn it into a smooth, efficient operation. So obviously there'd be a reduction in resources across the two firms, but we'd be able to operate that efficiently because we already operate crypto custody at scale.
With the specter of the SEC now hanging over much of crypto, how much of that played into this, into your withdrawal of the acquisition? You already had the Nevada regulator, basically shutting things down, but nonetheless, would that have caused any issue as well?
No, the SEC wasn't a factor here. The SEC has obviously been active in determining what's a security and what's not these days. That is their job. Hopefully they come out with some clear guidance as opposed to regulation by way of indirect after the fact lawsuits, but that was not a factor in this at all.
Any plans for any other acquisitions?
Yes. Well, we've got some pending. I haven't been able to announce them yet, but I think there's going to be consolidation in the space over the next 6 months. Firms that raised money just a year ago, obviously the climate has changed, and so now it's time to kind of join forces with companies that are a little bit larger. So BitGo's got the opportunity, I hope, to be able to bring in some adjacent businesses that really help bolster and strengthen us as a full service custodian.
BitGo took Galaxy to court for $100 million in damages in a case that was dismissed by a Delaware judge earlier this month. How healthy is your balance sheet? Is that going to contribute to how you look at acquisitions or mergers moving forward?
Look, the Galaxy deal was a different game. Galaxy couldn't get relisted in the U.S. Due to nothing related to BitGo. And they had a breakup fee, which they were supposed to pay us, and they decided not to pay the breakup fee. And so we sued them in court for that $100 million, which they absolutely owe us. It doesn't affect our balance sheet at all. BitGo's been operating a very healthy business. We grew kind of through, all the uptrends. Obviously, right now things are down a little bit from where they were, but BitGo's a healthy business and actually one of the stalwarts of the industry. So we're really excited about where we stand, the new products we're delivering, and what's coming next. Galaxy literally is zero time for, for me in my thinking about how to move the business forward.
You mentioned consolidation in the crypto space here, and I'd love to hear your opinion. With the implosion of FTX, we saw this domino effect in the crypto space, and with this consolidation happening again as we get towards the bull cycle, do you think that we need more diversification, more players in the space rather than large players working on mergers and acquisitions?
Well, I think good industries always bring in a lot of jobs, a lot of business, and obviously we're in a downtrend, not just for crypto, but for the entire market. So this affects everybody in kind of a difficult way as we address kind of the new reality of the markets around us. But since you mentioned FTX, I mean, one of the things that we're excited about that we're launching here at BitGo is the Go network. And I think it's the first opportunity we've seen as an industry, since FTX to address the systemic problems that are inherent with trading and, prime brokerage type services in the market. The fact that we haven't had a settlement layer where everybody can settle their trades outside of just pre-funding exchanges. So the risks that have been taken, in the industry, in the past with the pre-funded exchange model. And of course, this has been of much debate through proposed legislation, through SEC enforcement and others, that you need to separate custody away from trading in order to have measurable risk in markets. And every other asset class works this way. Every other market works this way. FTX leveraged this through fraud to perpetrate one of the worst crimes we've ever seen on the planet. Anyway, BitGo's Go network solves this problem. BitGo's a qualified custodian. You keep your assets in deep, cold custody, and yet you can trade on exchanges. So we're launching this week with Bitstamp. We've got Gate.io. We've got INX coming soon. This is going to be the first time you can actually start to get your head around risk, which is going to enable new businesses like prime brokerages to really come in full force in a way that they haven't before.
So a few months ago, obviously, we had Signature and Silicon Valley Bank. They also provided some rails into the crypto market. Obviously, it's a different technology. It's a different aspect of this whole of trading, et cetera. But nonetheless, it was an asset to them to have this sort of technology on as part of their business. You guys, as Jen mentioned before, a target for acquisition by Galaxy. Are you talking to anybody right now to be acquired?
Well, with regard to Silvergate and Signature, remember those are banks. They touch fiat, right? We're in the crypto ecosystem. And of course, we care about fiat. I mean, often people are moving to and from fiat as they come into digital assets and Bitcoin. But unfortunately, those banks, they can't touch the crypto. And this is one of the unique things about BitGo. So BitGo is a trust company. It's really a 100% reserve bank. And frankly, I think the world expects reserve banks, and yet we've been delivered these banks that frankly don't manage money very well, and they're not reserve banks. And it's led to, a number of failures. Now that we look at the commercial real estate market, again, not related to cryptocurrency or Bitcoin at all, and we're looking at more failures at these banks. We all know that it's coming. So anyway, BitGo has a solution where through this settlement network, you can actually settle fiat to crypto in DVP, delivery versus payment. Is very much a product that you would expect in traditional finance, and yet you can now have it in digital assets and crypto, and of course interface to all the decentralized goodness that you get out of Bitcoin and whatnot. With regard to acquisitions, no, we are not currently looking to be acquired. We're very happy to be growing the business. As you can tell, I'm excited about the products we're launching. The Go network hits both the fiat side of what Sen was doing and also really solves this problem around off-exchange settlement so that you can start to de-risk prime brokerage.
But you nonetheless, you don't. You might not be currently marketing yourself, but have you received any offers to be acquired besides Galaxy? Obviously,
well, they come from time to time, and like right now the markets are down, so we have a good business, and I think most people that have a good business aren't interested in selling. We're on the other side right now. We would actually like to be acquiring through growth and strength, and as we come onto the other side of this market, BitGo's going to emerge as a very strong player.
What do you think the getting back to the question of the SEC and getting back to the question of regulation, what do you see the custodial market looking like in the next 3 years?
Well, I think the regulatory pressure is going to continue to keep out the traditional firms and the innovators, those that are able to provide a high level of technology to the product line are going to emerge as larger. And BitGo has been a technology company from our inception. We're not a bank by design. We're actually technologists. I spent my 30-year career all in technology prior to digital assets. So the regulatory overlay on top of the industry is really holding out some of the traditional players. To be honest, it's unfortunate. We really like all of the traditional players to be able to participate in digital assets. It's the number one thing that regulators could do to help make the markets stable. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen.
Any jealousy that iShares named Coinbase as their custodian in the potential ETF that they filed? There's got to be a little bit of jealousy.
Sure, we're competitors, right? So, but don't call it all just done and wrapped up. BitGo is involved in a number of these conversations as well. Coinbase is a public company. It's got a very healthy balance sheet, so they do get some of those first movers. But we'll see as the climate emerges. I think you're going to have to separate out custody from trading. I mean, at the end of the day, the NASDAQ, NYSE, these are not custodians; these are exchanges. Coinbase is going to have to choose which side of the fence they want to be on. And BitGo's here doing a whole bunch of business that you don't always see because we're kind of the brand behind the brand.
Larry Fink has your phone number?
Yes, he does.
So you're saying that you're still talking to them?
We talked to pretty much every big deal that's out there, and some of them are farther along than you know. We don't talk about our clients; we don't disclose them all the time, so it makes it a little bit harder to sometimes openly discuss.
Breaking news.
There you go.
BitGo is talking to BlackRock. I can see the headline now.
On the topic of Coinbase, we got to ask your opinion here. What do you make of the SEC's lawsuits against Binance and Coinbase?
Well, let's see. On the Binance one, I think there's a lot more questions about sanctions for the U.S. government as it thinks about, how does it apply sanctions across companies that, may or may not be inside the U.S. My personal opinion is that the SEC or at the federal level, they're looking to tie Binance US to Binance. And if they can make a tie there, then they can pull Binance under, U.S. sanctions regulation. Coinbase is a very different animal. Coinbase has taken a very methodical approach towards, really trying to adhere to the law, understand the law, et cetera. And there's been tremendous reach out. I think the judges are going to be very sympathetic to Coinbase because Coinbase is going to have a mountain of evidence that they've really tried to do things the right way. They've asked how to do it the right way. They've been patient and waited for how to do it the right way. And yet the SEC has just not responded in an appropriate timeline. So I think this is going to be very favorable for Coinbase. In the end, this idea that we already have the rules and they're already all clear is simply not true at face value. There's so many participants at the business level, at the regulatory level, at the legislative level, saying, look, it's not as clear as it needs to be. Digital assets actually are different and unique, and we need new guidance on how we're going to treat them. And you can't just say, this is already well understood, well-trodden paths. It's simply not true.
Mike, thank you very much for taking the time to join us this morning.
Thanks for having me. Great to talk with you.
That was Mike Belshe, BitGo CEO. I must mention that we reached out to Prime Trust for comment, but we have not heard back.